We're live.
4.
We're live.
3, 2.
We're live.
He knows.
Live.
He knows.
I just wanted to exhibit a little bit of control.
The people behind the scenes don't realize that Brandon has to even control when we go live.
5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everybody. It is Unnecessary Roughness Barstool's College Football Podcast, brought to you by High Noon Hard Seltzer. It's delicious. You're going to love it. I'm adding one sentence every time to see if I can get back in. Go, Casey.
It is delicious. Thank you, Brandon, for setting me up there. You guys know the drill. We love High Noon. The 2 limited edition packs that are out for the fall, the game day pack, which has been out since right before the season started, the El Prez pack that is out right now with the tangerine. I already know the answer. Jack and Katie have not tried it yet. That's okay. They're going to try it eventually. Anybody who has tried it, both in the office and people that I've talked to, whether it's on social media or when we go on the road, or I talk to people in real life, tangerine, #1, best flavor in the power rankings, in my opinion, but they're all fantastic. The tequila, if you're more of a tequila person, obviously we have those options. We've got the big cans, the big boys. We love High Noon, Jack. We love it. We have since the beginning, and they've loved us since the beginning.
Shout out to High Noon. I mean, High Noon is just, it is everything and more. We love High Noon here at Barstool Sports, and especially Unnecessary Roughness. We've been around the block with High Noon. So shout out to High Noon for always supporting us. And here's the thing. It's pretty easy to advertise because everybody loves High Noon. So even if High Noon just stopped advertising themselves, don't do that because we need money. But let's just say they stopped. I still think by word of mouth and whatnot, they would be more than fine. Shout out to High Noon. Definitely, I need to get my hands on a tangerine.
Yes, you do. And everybody knows where to get them. Brandon, you know where to get them. I'm sure you've been getting them.
Yeah, here's the thing, High Noon. It's been 7 months, and once again, I apologize. I was just trying to make a joke to somebody that was sitting to my right. It was poorly timed, and I'm stupid. I love you so much. High Noon, check them out. Okay, here we go. I think this is the first time in the history of the podcast this has been true. But I've got to say this. When you go through a college football season and you get beaten down by disappointing loss after disappointing loss after disappointing loss, you are sad and you're tired of it and you're ready for the season to end. But let me tell you something. Nothing fires the engines up more than a good coaching search. Casey entered hers yesterday morning. I entered mine this morning. Mississippi State and Texas A&M both looking for their next head coaches. Probably going to get a better one at Mississippi State, but who knows? We'll see. Oh, my God. Casey, I am fired the fuck up once again. My life has returned. I'm Mr. Mississippi State again.
Well, this is how I felt yesterday, and you didn't even let me fully talk about it. You were angry at me for trying to talk about Jimbo getting fired, but I won't do that to you because I understand your feelings. Now, I know I texted this in the group text earlier today when we got the news about Zach ARNETT. I get that they had to enter the coaching search because obviously jobs are opening up. But the Mississippi State firing feels so weird to me. You guys should have done it. Again, don't get me wrong. But it just like Mike Leach, you always joke oh, he died, whatever. He did just die. This was a hire that you had to make. And it just as a Mississippi State fan, does it not feel just I don't know, the whole thing feels
No, here's the thing. All jokes aside, everybody involved with Mississippi State football got put in an impossible position 1 year ago when we lost the incomparable Mike Leach. Nobody knows how to handle that. There is no template of how to handle that. Nobody knows. That's an unfathomable situation.
Right.
It is awful that Mike Leach left us too soon. We should be sitting here right now talking about getting ready for a Great Egg Bowl because Mike Leach is leading the boys out of the tunnel. We're not. That tragedy happened. And a year ago, State didn't even have an athletic director, so they didn't know what to do. They didn't know. So they turned to Zach ARNETT, who was a very talented and good defensive coordinator, said, hey, keep the recruits, keep everything. The kids know you. They love you. Keep it going. They went through a year of football season, and Zach ARNETT was an incredible defensive coordinator. It wasn't working out in his first stint as head coach. So now you do a clean break. The Mike Leach era is over. Now you have to go forward with the rest of the program. A year ago, it was hard to do that because everybody was in mourning. Everybody was sad. How do you do it? Now, reset, go forward. That's what you do.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it, because obviously, you need to do it and you need to jump into it now because other jobs are opening, especially if they have somebody on their radar. And Jack said it in the group text, like you can't wait. But I don't know, like in my head, I was like, they should fire him, but maybe wait until after the season. Whatever. Regardless, we're both in the coaching search,
Right.
24 hours back to back, it's not even just, I mean, obviously for us, it's our podcast, love because of A&M and Mississippi State, but just the fact that 2 jobs back to back 24 hours in the same division in the SEC opened up. I mean, that's massive news, and more jobs are going to continue to
Well, let's stop right there. Let's talk about that. Right now, we know certain jobs are available. Mississippi State is available. Texas A&M is available. Right now, I would say Texas A&M is probably the most attractive job available on the market. Michigan State is available, correct?
Yes.
What's going to become available? I think Baylor could come available. I think Arkansas will probably become available. I don't know.
You're missing a big one.
Is Northwestern officially available, or did they? What are they? Because they've had a decent year under their interim, so they could go to a bowl. Jack, what do you think about that?
Michigan State's open.
I said Michigan.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry.
I think you're missing the second best job that's going to be open.
Say it.
Not Florida.
Florida's not coming open, I don't think. Go ahead.
UCLA. I think they're on their way to fire Chip Kelly.
So this is one of those where I saw that somebody DM me that today. This is one of those things where I don't know that I could be more plugged into college football than I am. I don't know that I could watch more college football than I watch. I don't know that I could possibly really be as invested in college football as I'm invested. UCLA's coming open? Like that's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was even talks today that they were going to fire him today.
And that to me seems like, that they've given him his chance, but also just knowing that they're moving into a new conference after this year, like you want to talk about like starting,
he had an awful loss on Saturday.
Yeah.
He had one of the worst losses of the season on Saturday.
But it's just like, and it's also just like, all right, dude, like we've tried this. It hasn't worked out. It's not been like pitiful every single year. I mean, it's not been great, but like, why take him into the Big Ten?
No, it's very similar. It's very similar to you guys where technically Jimbo never did awful. He had a bad year last year, but he also finished number 5 in the playoff one year. And this year he wasn't awful at all. He just wasn't worth the investment they were putting in or the expectations of when they hired him. Much like I think Chip Kelly at UCLA, he's not terrible, but he's also not. You didn't hire him to go 6-4 with a loss to Arizona State.
Yeah, and I can only speak for A&M. I don't know what UCLA's expectations were. I also hand up, I'm not plugged into UCLA's press conferences and UCLA's, like anytime that Chip Kelly is talking after games. But I do think, if he was doing the same thing that Jimbo was doing, which is, I think, what pushed a lot of people over. Because, yes, the COVID year was fantastic. Obviously, he was great at recruiting. I think with Jimbo, I know, it was also just like the unwillingness and the stubbornness and the excuse making. If Chip Kelly's been doing that at UCLA, then I can understand that. I don't know if he is. I'm not going to pretend like I know. But it's not even just expectations. It's more of just like, dude, you're just not a fit. You're just not a fit here.
Let me ask you all a question. When it comes to hiring a new coach, I feel like I hear this a lot. I hear and I'm going to use a couple of examples, and I got to get the age for one of these guys. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you 3 coaches. Willie Fritz at Tulane, who is, I believe, 9-1 this year and would be 10-0 if he didn't play Ole Miss with his backup quarterback. Kurt Cignetti at James Madison is 62 years old. And then Lance Leipold at Kansas, I believe, is 58 or 59. Okay. So those 3 coaches, and I think we'd all agree those are excellent football coaches, top-of-the-line football coaches. But when it comes to hiring, I think a lot of people would say, I don't know about him. He's 63 years old. I don't know about him. He's 59 years old. In this day and age, when coaches don't stay that long, if a man is 63, I can probably get 7 good years out of him, I would think. If I can sign up for 7 good years out of any coach, I'm fucking doing that. So, Casey, when it comes to your job, your A&M job, do you hear any names and be like, no, I don't want him. He's too old? Because a lot of people do that.
No, there's been nobody that, I mean, first of all, like the names that people are throwing out, like the realistic names versus like, just the names that are wish lists. And I saw you did the same thing for Mississippi State. Like there's been literally no one, including Nick Saban, who obviously anybody would take, and he's in his 70s, that I would say is too old. Maybe that's because I'm older. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I was like in my early 20s, if I would say, oh, a guy in his mid 60s. But like to me, like my dad's in his 70s and my dad is like more youthful than like half the dudes my age. Like I don't feel like age has anything to do with like your capacity to coach. Now,
there's a great comment. I want to say it before we go any further. Great comment. Mike says it's not age of the coach for longevity, it's for connection to the players. Well, guess what? That's a made up fan term. It really is. I have this idea that a 63-year-old can't connect to players. Look at Tulane, look at JMU, look at Kansas. Tell me if those coaches are connected to those fucking players.
Well, that's where I was going to go with my next thing. I didn't even see it because if I put the chat up, then I can't do two things at once. But it depends on how like old-minded they are. Like if it's an old guy that like isn't willing to like get in with like the TikTok world or get in with like the swag or whatever. Like I sound old saying this. Then there's a difference with that. If you have somebody, and like Katie, I know, Mac Brown, who is a lot older, like he has at North Carolina, you've seen him like in the locker room where the guys rally around him and he's dancing and all that. And whether it's for fun or not, like you have to have a guy who's maybe old age wise, but can still connect to these kids that are 18 to 22. There is a difference.
You also then have Dabo, who's not even connecting to like the transfer portal. So I feel like age doesn't always.
Those players love Dabo, though. He does connect well with his players.
With the times, like the
times.
times.
I think what she's saying. Yeah, what she's saying is to do what you got to do to coach and be great in 2023 includes the transfer portal, and he hasn't embraced that.
To me, that doesn't matter how old or young you are. Like if you could be like the youngest coach and still like not connect to players in the same way that somebody who's 70 could. It just
Here's what fans want the most. Here's what fans want the most when hiring a new coach. They want a guy who they think can recruit the best players they've ever had. That's what they want. And number two, they want a guy who can score points. That's what they want. They want to be able to hang on to the scoreboard. They want to be able to hang on to recruits, which is hope. And hope is the most valuable commodity in college football. Now, that leaves a couple things unchecked. It leaves, toughness. Can you coach toughness? Can you make guys want to play for you? Can you game plan against the guy? Can you develop the players you get? Because I feel like you can recruit all the 5 stars you want, like Gus Malzahn did at Auburn, and they didn't turn one. He went 5 years without having a first-round pick at Auburn while he was getting like 15 5-stars. So you can get them, you better be able to develop them, and that's a key thing that people kind of skip in this process, I believe.
I agree with you. It goes to, and I know our friend Josh Pate has been going at it with people about
he's not our friend.
My friend, Jack's friend, Katie's friend. He's talking about the difference in what fans want in coaches and for programs versus what the jobs actually mean to those guys and what jobs are actually really good for coaches in the industry. So there are two different things. For me, as somebody who's just a fan, age does not matter to me. It's like how old your mind is, how willing you are to adapt to whatever the current culture and current climate of college football is. And then recruiting, but also developing it. Because obviously for Jimbo Fisher, he could recruit his ass off, but couldn't develop it. I don't care. You could tell me the best coach in the country is 75 years old, and they don't act 75 years old, and they can connect to players and get the guys in and lead them to a good season. I'm fine with that. Age doesn't matter to me, but that also might be because I'm older. I don't know.
I think Lane's going to do good at Texas A&M. I really do. I think with his offense, with his ability to identify players, he's not that good of a recruiter. He's not that good of a coach. But I think for A&M, I think he could do a good job out there, and I think you're going to be happy with him.
I would not hate if Lane Kiffin was the head coach at Texas A&M. I don't understand why anybody would. I know I actually have a lot of friends who don't want Lane for whatever reason. But I think
you guys are a cult and have some stupid people in your fan base.
Well, everybody has stupid people in their fan base.
Oklahoma has the most of them.
Oklahoma is not happy. Well, they're never happy. But when I don't know if we want to get into this now or how. I have a question for you when it comes to these jobs, and I understand that you're going to be a little bit biased because it's your school versus mine.
Ask your stupid question.
Well, it's not necessarily a stupid question, but I'm afraid it's going to make you angry.
Okay, ask your question.
Okay, so we've had.
And I promise you, it's not going to make me angry.
Well, I don't believe you whatsoever. I'm going to phrase it to where I don't think it'll make you angry. You and I have gotten in debates in the past, not in the last few years, but we've gotten in debates in the past about what's a better program, Mississippi State or A&M. And for most of the time, everyone listening is like, we don't give a shit, keep it moving. Right now, that is a very important question in college football because both jobs are open. When it comes to the coaching search for A&M and the coaching search for Mississippi State, they're not on the same playing level right now, right?
Oh, no. Here's my answer to that. A&M is a better job than Mississippi State. They're going to pay more. They're going to get better players probably, and they're going to have more fans. They got a huge fan base. A&M's a better job. You can make a lot more money out there. Mississippi State's been a better program because we've just been a better program. We've been beating you. We're up 9-8 since you moved to the SEC. Like, your resources have meant nothing when it comes to competing on the field. Off the field, they mean everything.
Okay. That was a lot more civil than I thought it would be.
How good of a job is Texas A&M?
I think it is. There's two answers: how good of a job it is, and potentially how good of a job it is. Right?
No,
I think
now, if every job is open and you're the best coach in America with no biases on where you live and whatnot, how long does it take for you to draft Texas?
I think
A&M?
the right coach can absolutely win a national championship at Texas A&M. They've never found the right coach. Now, if it came open, if every job was open today, I think it's probably between like 12 and 17.
All right, I think it's more 10, but yeah, I would even say it's possibly 9 or 8. Like, what's a better job?
Okay, all right. Let's just do that. Okay, here are the jobs, slam dunk, no question, better than Texas A&M. Ohio State and Michigan are better jobs than A&M. Penn State's a better job than A&M. Alabama's a better job.
Wait. You think Michigan's a better job?
Much better job, yeah.
All right.
I'm going to let you guys argue this, and then I'll say my piece at the end.
I just said 3 Big Ten teams. Alabama's a better job. Georgia's a better job. LSU's a better job. Florida's a better job.
Wait. You think Penn State's a better job?
That was us pushing back on that one.
I completely disagree with that, but okay.
I think Penn State's a better job. So that's 7, and I've only been in 2 conferences.
USC's a better job.
Hold on. Florida State's a better job. Florida State's a better job. USC's a better job. Oklahoma's a better job. Texas is a better job. I might be done. Notre Dame's a better job.
What's your definition of a better job?
See, I wish you hadn't said that. It's just
That was my next question.
It's ability to recruit. It's resources. It's fan base. It's buy-in. It's administration. It's everything. It's everything mixed into one. And A&M looks incredible on paper, and it is good. Like, top 15 jobs is awesome. Something has held it back. Something unseen has held it back, where it hasn't held back these other teams. And I just mentioned 12, and I probably could have gone more. Clemson is not a better job. It just has a better coach.
Did you say Tennessee's a better job?
Tennessee's not a better job than A&M. Tennessee was in 1998. Tennessee is probably a top 20 job.
Did you say
now.
Auburn's a better job or no?
I'd say Auburn and A&M are very, very, very similar.
I think A&M is the better job than Auburn. Auburn's probably close, though. There's definitely that tier. A&M's the second tier, but I think it's the top of the second tier. I would put Tennessee, Auburn, Oregon, A&M, all near the top of the second tier. Florida State.
I'd say Florida State would be either the bottom of the first tier or the top of the second tier.
No. I disagree with that.
That's a great fucking job, man. That's a great fucking job.
Is it?
I don't disagree with, like, first of all, like, I know there are people that are gonna be like, you're gonna say that A&M is like a top 5 job. Obviously, if every single job in the country is open, that's not true. The thing is what A&M has, and Jack, you made a fantastic TikTok about it, but it is, people aren't understanding that, what A&M is missing is somebody to actually succeed. So if you want to talk about expectations.
Yeah, in fact, somebody on the chat just said that. Somebody on the chat just said, what does A&M ever want to be a top 15 job? You dumb fuck. It's not about winning doesn't make your job. Opportunity to win makes your job. A&M has remarkable opportunity to win. They just haven't found it yet. Continue.
No, but that's where the fan perspective is so different in comparison to a job perspective. If you are a head coach right now and you are looking to go to a program that you have all the support in the world, all the money in God's green earth available, the facilities, the recruiting, just everything at your disposal, and all you need to do is come in and elevate that program, that is Texas A&M. And that's where fans are so fucking stupid, because they say, well, the expectations are so high. Like, what's A&M done to win? You think a coach looks at the check that was presented at halftime of the Mississippi State game, $160,470,000 to the 12-man foundation, which is where all the money goes into the athletic department and for student athletes. That check was light work. There are people, that is a check on the sidelines of the field saying, hey guys, this is how much money we have. If you're a coach, wherever you are, you're not saying, oh, who cares they go 8-4 every year? Who cares they go 7-5? That's how much money these people care about. That's how much they're not only being petty enough to do it on the field. They're saying, hey, we got the money to buy Jimbo's ass out. We've also got the money to hire you. And that's just on this Saturday. Like, what are you talking about? It's not a good job.
Somebody in the chat says Brandon just destroyed his career. Did I say a word and I didn't mean to?
No.
I don't think I did.
No,
What a
was
fucking idiot. If you're gonna be here, you got to be a grown up, man. Don't be a pussy. We're fucking talking football.
But like, if anybody that's watching this or listening to this that has a job knows that, like, you might not go to a place that has like you said, let's say you're gonna go be a CEO of some place. Do you sit and be like, oh well, that place has the most success, or a place that I could go make it the best place in the world and get paid way more? That's where A&M is. Now, that doesn't necessarily always work out. We've seen what happened with Jimbo. But if you can find a job where you're going to have all the power in the world, all the money in the world, and you're not going to some like rinky-dink shithole, like you're going somewhere that has everything possible for you to be successful, then go be successful, and you're king there.
I'll fight back against the chat on this one too. They keep saying Clemson is not a better job than A&M, period. Clemson has had a better coach and has been a great program. They've been a better program. They are not a better job. They just lucked into the right coach at the right time. No, the second they run Dabo off, you're going to find out just how good of a job Clemson is.
This is where and again, our friend Josh Pate, he said, coaches and agents are like laughing at the replies to him. Like, this is where that divide is. And I'm not saying that people who are looking at the success of programs are arguing an incorrect point for that. But there is a difference in success of programs and a better program and better successful football team than a better job. And if you are a head coach and you look at the job, A&M is much better than a lot of these places. They just haven't had the guy to also make it a more successful program. That's
what's
the key
a better
there.
job, Michigan State or Mississippi State?
Probably Michigan State.
Probably close.
I would say Mississippi State just because it's the SEC West, but
you could probably get paid a little bit more in Michigan State.
Yeah, here's the thing, Casey. You say that the SEC West. To my east is Alabama. To my southwest is LSU. I got Texas and Oklahoma coming in and breathing down my neck. Like, you live in a neighborhood of mansions, and you have to make do with a nice house. Like, it's just tough. It's just really tough. Whereas Michigan State kind of looks rough now because Michigan's up, but Michigan State has all the ability in the world to be one of those top 3 teams in the Big Ten every now and then. Not on a year-to-year basis, but every now and then they can.
I guess my thought is, like, right now, because they're staring at Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. But you're right.
2 years ago, they were in the playoff conversation.
Yeah, well, that's also where the frustration for A&M is. It's like they can afford the mansion, they can afford the biggest mansion on the block. They just can't find the guy that can live in it permanently and make it that way. So I don't know. I mean, any job that's open right now, we're going to be talking about for sure. But the fact that both of our teams and schools have job openings within the 24 hours is wild.
You know what, Casey?
And we played on Saturday. That's even crazy.
Stop talking. Casey, it's nuts.
People are like, what's this man talking about? Well, boy, that's what we're
talking about. Our new sponsor, nuts.com. That's what I'm talking about.
Look at you.
Almonds, pecans, pistachios, dried mango, crystallized ginger, dates, jelly beans, jawbreakers, root beer barrels. The variety is vast at nuts.com.
They have chocolate-covered fruit too, Brandon.
Chocolate-covered fruit. They're your one-stop shop. Nuts.com is for freshly roasted nuts, dried fruits, sweets, pantry staples like specialty flours, and more. Their wide selections mean there's something for everyone. Nuts.com offers plenty of gluten-free options, organic choices for those of you who like to watch what you eat. Those of us who like to watch what you eat, and other diet-friendly products. Whether you are looking for something sweet, savory, or need to stock up on everyday cooking essentials, you're bound to find something to try. At Nuts.com, quality is a top priority. They roast their nuts and pop the corn the same day it ships, so they reach you deliciously fresh. Satisfaction guaranteed. I love pecans. I love nuts. I love all.
I was going to say, what's your favorite nut?
I'm a pecan guy.
I'm a cashew gal. Love some good cashews.
I love a good pecan.
Peanuts.
Pecan pie, pecan other stuff. I just love pecans. Shop a la carte anytime or opt into hassle-free auto delivery so you never run out of your favorite items. And if you're already stocked up at home, they also sell directly to businesses. Yes, Casey, you had a point there?
Yeah, well, no, I was going to say, so Nuts.com sent me a bunch. Like, I haven't even opened this one yet because they sent me so many, which is great. It is underrated how great it is to like sit on the couch or what, like whether you're watching like sports or whatever, and sit and just like be able to dip your hand in the bag and just eat like really good snacks that are actually healthy for you. Nuts.com.
Right now, Nuts.com is offering new customers a free gift with purchase and free shipping on orders of $29 or more at Nuts.com/rough. So go check out all the delicious options at Nuts.com/rough. You'll receive a free gift, free shipping when you spend $29 or more. That's Nuts.com/rough. All right. I have a question for all three of you, and the chat can play along too. If you're going to play with the chat, I need just comma, and you answer these four, okay? My question to the group is this. Forget about the playoff. Forget about who slots where and conference champion. Forget about all that. My question is, on November 13th, 2023, who are the four best teams in America? Who are the four best teams in America as we sit here today? I will allow Jack to go first.
Georgia.
1.
Michigan.
2.
Ohio State.
3.
Oregon.
Stop right there. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon. Casey Smith, who are the four best teams in the country today?
Alabama.
1.
Oregon.
2.
Georgia.
3.
Michigan.
Wow. Katie Stats.
Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama.
You know, you really just do it. You just fucking do it every single time, don't you? You just do it every single fucking time. There's no world I can ever say, Katie, go last before me, and you don't take mine. It's like you're right, Katie.
Great.
The answer, I believe, is Georgia. I'm going to put them in order. Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, Alabama 4. I put Oregon out there. I go 5 Oregon. No, I don't. I go 5 Florida State, 6 Oregon. And I'm interested to see why. There's no wrong answers here. We're just having a discussion. So for Casey and Jack, you both put Oregon in yours. We did not. Why do you have Oregon in yours?
Can I also, I made the mistake, and I know I should never do this. I made the mistake to go over to the chat just to see what their answers were. And everyone's being like, how the fuck does Casey, like, how she's so wrong? She doesn't watch football. I said everything the same. Like, my teams are the same that everybody else in the chat is saying.
Don't worry about that. You're fine.
What are they fucking talking about?
All right, Oregon. You've got Oregon in there. You've got Oregon in there, Jack and Casey. Jack, you go first. Make your case for Oregon. Not that the case has to be made. I'm just saying let's debate.
I think Oregon has a defense finally from the Pac-12 that can match with their offense. The defense from Dan Lanning looks very good. It had its moments against Washington, but I think it's rounding into form. Still leaves a little bit to be desired, but that offense is so elite quarterback, elite running back. I think they're a top 4 team in the country. And this is best, not most deserving. So
this is not the playoff four, guys. This is who we think the best 4 teams are. Continue.
yeah, and that's why I put Oregon third, and that Ohio State Bama are kind of tied in my head. I kind of think a little bit more about Bama because defense probably the same. Offense, it probably comes down to the quarterback, and I'm more confident in Jalen Milroe right now than I am in Kyle McCord. So,
all right, let me just throw something else out. There's 4 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of us had Florida State in.
Not. I don't know.
Hold on. Three teams. Not one of us had Florida State in. Not one of us had Texas in, who beat Alabama, and not one of us had undefeated Washington in. Why do y'all think that is?
So between Oregon and Washington, because I do think that one of those two, Pac-12 teams should be in the. Again, we're not talking about the playoff. We're talking about the best 4 teams. The reason I put Oregon instead of Washington is because of what Jack said, just with the defense. They have the depth. Obviously, Bo Nix with the experience and the offense. They have a better defense than Washington. Now, head-to-head, right now, we know Washington beat Oregon, but I do think that the way that Oregon has played down the stretch has said they are a better team, which will play out in the Pac-12 championship in my mind. So if I'm going to say that Oregon's going to beat Washington, that's why I don't have Washington. As far as Florida State, I think the ACC just as a whole is down. And that's not saying that Florida State's not talented. Obviously, Jordan Travis is a very good quarterback. But the reason I left them out is because who is Florida State's best win? That to me is a bigger indication of the conference, which we have said in the past with Clemson. Like Clemson has always been there, and yes, they've been a national title winner. But it's like, who else have they played? When the 4 teams I just mentioned, the 4 teams all of you guys just mentioned, have had way bigger wins.
Well, Florida State does play in the ACC, but they did open the season against the SEC's 4th best team, and shithoused them. But
LSU.
Nobody in the SEC has come close to stopping LSU's offense. Florida State stopped LSU's offense.
But that's the same reason I left Texas out when I put Alabama in, because it happened in September. So I do think that Florida State is a different team, just like every other team is in November as they are September. But it hasn't impressed me as much as, say, Alabama, who did lose to Texas in September, but is a completely different team where they are now than they were then.
One more time, I think I can reiterate, there's not a person here that thinks if Florida State goes undefeated, they're not getting in the playoff. We all think they're getting in the playoff.
Correct.
We are discussing who the 4 best teams are. I do wonder, because I and Katie had the same list. We both had Georgia, we both had Ohio State, we both had Michigan. I don't think any of those require any explanation. Alabama does. Alabama struggled for part of the year. They were not impressive against they lost to Texas. They were not impressive against South Florida. They were not impressive against A&M, probably. They were not really impressive against Arkansas. But in the last month, they have been more impressive. They beat Ole Miss with ease. They beat Tennessee with ease. They beat Kentucky with ease. Kentucky not that good. But my question is, have we seen – if this exact resume wasn't Alabama, would we put them in the top 4, or do we give them the Alabama bump?
I mean, I have Alabama as well, and I think both the things can be true.
I think it's completely fine to give them that respect because, one, the biggest knock on them was offensive struggles that have kind of figured themselves out. At least it looks it. And also, we know this is the most talented roster in the country. And I know that shouldn't.
I think Georgia has a real big I think they got an argument for that, don't they?
Well, theoretically, like on the 24/7 team talent composite, I believe Alabama is higher.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Katie.
It's not the Alabama bump; it's the Nick Saban bump.
Well, you can't
but he coaches Alabama.
I mean, sure, they're one the same, but it's the Nick Saban's been there. I have more faith in Nick Saban than Dan Lanning.
That's also very true. I like that point a lot because the coach matters a lot in these scenarios. So
there's also
that's a good point from Katie. Yeah, so I think talent coaching to back up Katie's point, like I think they're in a good spot, and so I think it's fair to give them that bump.
I don't think that it's not like a bump just because it's Alabama. Like, oh, well, if it was a different team, it's like, well, does the different team have Nick Saban? Like, Katie's 100% right. Like, if you have the talent that they have, you also have the best coach in college football history there, then it's a fair bump to do. But also, this team has just gotten astronomically better throughout the season. Tommy Rees changed the offense. When they benched Jalen Milroe, obviously that did something for him. So it's all those things combined. But I don't care who you're a fan of. I don't care if you're watching college football right now and you're watching Alabama play. It's very obvious that they are playing like one of the best teams in the country. They did lose to Texas. I get that. I do believe if Texas and Alabama played this upcoming Saturday, Alabama would win. I would put a lot of money responsibly on that because I think that's how much better they are than when they played Texas in September.
I don't think we have to say responsibly anymore.
Yeah, I never really know.
We do? Yeah, responsibly. Yeah. So of course, responsibly.
Well, maybe in 2024, responsibly, like we can be a little bit more irresponsible. But that being said, I do want to say from and I wonder if you guys agree with this. I think it's these 5 teams we're discussing: Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, Michigan, and Georgia. And then there's not a huge gap, but I think there's a gap. I think those 5 teams are kind of button heads. There's teams that are a little better, but on any given Saturday, it could go a certain way. Then there's a little bit of a draw to that Florida State, Washington, Texas. Texas has been kind of disappointing since beating Alabama. I think that's fine to say. And I think Katie agrees with me because I know we've talked about it. They've kind of just been bleh.
Isn't the drop off in the gap between Oregon and Washington just kind of our opinion though? Because Washington is undefeated and beat Oregon.
Yeah.
Now everybody sitting here believes that they play today, Oregon would beat them. But that's all opinion based on things that have happened after. We saw them on the field, and Washington's done nothing really to disprove the fact that they're a top 10 team or a top 5 team.
Their defense, that makes me questionable. Like just a straight eye test. Like you have to respect the head-to-head, but their defense makes me concerned that when they hit, like look at what happened to USC. Like Washington won that because USC's offense stalled. Their offense is fantastic, but their defense makes me put them outside the top 5 regardless.
But I do see your point, Brandon, is that like that's an opinion thing. Now, obviously, the defense is not an opinion thing. We know Oregon has a better defense, but I would still put Washington in that conversation. And I would, I don't think it's fair to drop Florida State out of it either. Now, none of us had Florida State as one of the best teams, but I could absolutely understand why somebody would put them there. Because it's not like they're playing in some like horrific conference, but I do think that the ACC is down.
Who's the better football team, Oregon or Washington?
I think Oregon.
Yeah, my opinion is Oregon. That's what I'm saying. I think we all have that opinion. However, boy, it is all just an opinion when it comes to because Washington they refuse to not have the better resume. I mean, they keep winning, and I don't know. We all assume Oregon. Now, let me say this: we all assume that Oregon and Washington are going to play in the Pac-12 title game, and we all kind of believe Oregon's a better team right now. Y'all know who could fuck this whole world up, right?
Oregon State.
I mean, Oregon State can fuck the whole thing up for everybody. And by the way, y'all are leaving us in the Pac-12. You're going over the Big Ten. You're going over the Big Ten. Everything's great, and you both have national title aspirations. Well, guess what? I can beat Washington's ass at home this week, and then I can beat Oregon's ass. And I just fucked everybody's world. Oregon State is a fascinating story right now.
Yeah, but we said that going into the season that there's the Pac-12 is so loaded at quarterback, so loaded with a lot of talent, but there are going to be teams that are in the actual playoff conversation, and then there are going to be very talented teams with good quarterbacks that are going to fuck up the playoff conversation for the Pac-12, and that is Oregon State. However, if we're talking about on November 13th who the best teams are, I'm not looking to see, if Oregon's going to trip up against Oregon State. I do believe Oregon is a better team. Does that mean they could lose to Oregon State? Absolutely. Does that mean Washington could? Absolutely. That Oregon to me is the best team in the Pac-12, and I think that we're going to see that play out at the end of the season. Also, and I know we all said, we didn't say Florida State. Nobody said Texas either. And, Texas has had, some injuries.
Texas and Washington have the same problem right now. Texas and Washington have the same problem. is they've done everything but lose in the last few weeks. Texas barely beats Houston. They barely beat they barely hold on against Kansas State. They barely hold on against TCU, thank you very much, the other day. Like, they have the record, but they don't have the strength, the eyeball test right now because they're barely beating these teams. Washington's the same way. After they beat Oregon, they barely beat Arizona State, who, by the way, I know we say Arizona State like it's some insult. Arizona State, pretty good football team for 3-7 where they were. Like, they play with a lot more. They put a lot more scare into these teams than you think they ought to be able to. So I just want to say that. But they barely beat Arizona State. They barely beat Stanford, who's god awful garbage. So they kind of, Texas and Washington have themselves to blame because they have not played that well since their big wins.
Well, in Texas also, we've had the Quinn Ewers injury. Jonathan Brooks is now out for the season, which is massive for them. So there's a lot of injury things that have happened. But you're right, and that's also an indication of the Big 12. And I know Texas fans never want OU to win, and I understand that. I get that. That runs in their blood. But they also would have a better resume had OU continued to win, and then they avenged that loss in the Big 12 championship. But because OU dropped those 2 games the way that they did, now that win won't look as impressive. They still will have the Alabama win, and that's fine, but it was in September. So
one inconvenient truth for everybody right now is we're going to a 12-team playoff very soon. I think I'm going to let it play out. I never want to just get bogged down in this crap. There's potential that we leave out some of the most qualified teams we've ever left out this year. There's potential we leave out some of the most qualified teams we've ever had to leave out. And I think the linchpin there is if Alabama beats Georgia, all hell breaks loose. Because then you're going to leave out a 1-loss Ohio State or Michigan. You're going to leave out a 1-loss Georgia probably. You're going to leave out maybe a 1-loss Oregon. Like, it's going to get nasty. And I don't know which one you're going to leave out, but you're going to leave out like 3 teams that all have a very, very – they all could have a very good claim to making it.
The Alabama-Georgia one is probably the biggest. Like, you're right, that one will be confusing. But there's also the what happens if now Michigan loses to Ohio State. I mean, like, I guess if Michigan
would be done if they lost to Ohio State. They'd be done.
Okay, so what if Ohio State loses to Michigan? Are they done?
I think they would probably be done, but I think they'd be less done than Michigan.
Oh, I do agree with that because they have, I mean, even though Notre Dame is not a good team, but like they do have that one. What happened last year, obviously we could potentially see happen, but the SEC is the biggest thing because if Alabama does beat Georgia and Georgia was undefeated in the regular season and loses, TCU lost in the Big 12 championship last year.
Jack never raises his hand. I got to see what he never raises his hand. Go ahead.
You're going to get mad at what I'm about to say.
Me?
No.
Okay.
Brandon. How much better of a resume does Ohio State have than Michigan?
Not much. Not a whole hell of a lot more.
Especially after because
better. Listen, at that point,
better.
At that point, if Michigan doesn't beat Ohio State, they have 1 decent win as Penn State. If Ohio State doesn't beat Michigan, they have 2 decent wins, and that's Penn State and Notre Dame. Those are decent wins. I don't think either is a great win, but I think that's 2 decent wins as opposed to 1.
Yeah, and even though I'm kind of looking down on it, but that was a good. It was on the road, and that's supposed to be a. But I almost just said UConn. What am I saying? That being said, Michigan winning on the road by 2 scores. I guess it was 1 at the end of the day. 2 scores theoretically at Penn State is better than. It ended with 2 scores against Ohio State, though, right?
No, it was the exact same game. It was the exact same game. If Franklin doesn't go for 2 twice, it's the same game. Now, Michigan won by 9, Ohio State won by 8. Like, that's the only difference is that idiot James Franklin went for 2 twice against Michigan.
That's James Franklin again in those big games, but Michigan's non-conference schedule is obviously much worse than Ohio State's, but that we've seen that doesn't matter to the playoff committee at the end of the day. Now, you're 100% right. If Michigan loses to Ohio State, I think they're done. If Ohio State loses, they would need a lot of other things to happen for them to get in again, because that's what we saw last year. It just the other conferences just kind of, for lack of better terms, cannibalize themselves. But the biggest the biggest thing is Georgia, Alabama right now. You know,
Well, no, I think I think Oregon, Washington is equally as big because that could be for a playoff spot.
You know, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that is the biggest chaos that happens, because I do believe that, like, if Oregon beats Washington, then I think Oregon goes in and Washington is out. Now, I understand they would still only have one loss, but I do think that because of the way they played, now that is a huge game. Ohio State, Michigan's a huge game. I'm saying for chaos, it's Alabama, Georgia.
Here's the thing. If Washington beats Oregon, they are 100% in the playoff. If Oregon beats Washington, they are like 80% in the playoff. Like, they're not 100 at all. They're going to be in a discussion with Texas and maybe one loss Alabama if Alabama beats Georgia.
And if Alabama beats Georgia, they are 100% in.
Alabama beating Georgia, they're 100% in.
Correct. If Georgia beats Alabama,
I do not say it's 100% at all.
Okay, Jack, here's the thing.
Oh, no.
Alabama, if they have one loss and they knock off Georgia, they then have the very best win in the country, period, bar none, no questions asked, right? So
are we sure about that?
I'm sure. Yes, I'm 100% sure.
Beating Georgia would be the number
why?
one.
I mean, who's Georgia?
Georgia's won 30 games in a row. Last two national titles, they would be either number one or number two when they play.
I understand why you would say that. I would also say it, but from a resume perspective, the SEC is not what
I'm not in a position where I think the committee would ever leave out the SEC champ if the SEC champ is in a discussion with other conference champs and they have the same record.
What if you have undefeated Florida State, undefeated Washington? I'm missing some.
Undefeated Michigan.
Undefeated Michigan and 12-1 Texas, who beat Alabama. Who's out then?
I think it would suck for them. I think Texas would be out. I really do. It would be.
I hope that happens. I hope that happens.
It would be tough. It would be a tough look for Texas, and it would be a tough look for the committee. That would be an impossible decision. But at the end of the day, they always talk about what you're playing like now and everything, and it couldn't be argued really that Alabama would have traversed a tougher road after that game in September. They will have beaten Georgia. They would have beaten LSU. They would have beaten Ole Miss. They would have beaten all these teams. Whereas Texas has looked kind of average, beating all the teams they've beaten, and Texas's loss is not very good. So that's a scenario. God damn, that would be.
Oh no, I mean
crazy.
That's
also not that out of the realm of possibility.
But that's why I said I pushed back. I wasn't saying I, for the most part, agree with you. I think if Alabama beats Georgia, they're 90% in, and that's right now, considering all the other scenarios that are out there. But I think if it comes down to that one that I said and everything breaks, it would be a crazy, crazy discussion. And I also think Florida State would be shitting themselves on Selection Sunday.
Yeah, because Michigan's not going to shit themselves.
No, because
they want
And Florida State's, let's say Kentucky knocks off Louisville. I mean, I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying Florida State fans, you can come at me no matter what. But I'm just saying, I know you guys wouldn't be feeling good on some. It would be one of those we're in, right?
I'm ready to say it with 100% certainty.
Okay.
I believe in the scenario you just laid out. Undefeated Michigan, undefeated Washington, undefeated Florida State. They're in. Alabama beats Georgia. Texas ends with one loss, and it's Texas against Alabama, and Texas beat Alabama. I think the committee is going to Tuscaloosa and walking Alabama straight to the playoff. I think it's 100% they get in.
There would be. I think that's fine to start the next Civil War if that happens. I think that's insane. I think why do we play the games then?
No,
I don't know that it's fair, Jack. I don't know that it's fair.
No. I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at the thought, because you're not alone in that thought. You are, and you're and I agree with you. The smartest mind in college football, the king of college football. You're not wrong in that thought, but the fact that we even think that is insane. They played at Alabama and won.
The head-to-head is 1,000% that does matter to me. Yes. The problem is is it was played in September. And this is why, and I know Brandon, we've all gone around and round. This is why whenever people give Michigan or even Georgia a hard time about easy out of conference schedules, it's like, if you're going to play a really hard out of conference schedule in September, and then the committee looks at it and says, well, it doesn't matter anymore in December, teams should pay attention to that, because Texas scheduled Alabama. Alabama scheduled Texas. If Alabama gets in over Texas, Texas is going to sit there like, then why the fuck are we playing Alabama in out of conference?
Well, let me say this. Games in September matter. They matter a lot. You need to win. Like, Texas winning that game matters a whole hell of a lot. The problem with that thought is games in October and November also matter. And if you measure Alabama and Texas ever since then, it is overwhelmingly in the favor of Alabama. Like, it's not close. You would have to be overwhelming to overcome the fact that they beat you at home. But look what would have happened since then. Ole Miss is a top 15 team. Alabama beat them by 2 scores. Tennessee is going to end up being a top 20 team. They beat them by 2 scores. LSU is going to end up a top 15 to 20 team. They beat them. They will have to beat number 1 or 2 Georgia. Like, they will have done all of this and handled that schedule with relative ease, whereas Texas is dicking around and fiddle farting around with Houston and needing refs to spot the ball wrong.
No, great counterpoint. Great counterpoint.
I know that I've said this, and I know I'm not the only person saying this. The best thing for Texas would have been for OU to continue to be undefeated, and they avenge that loss, because then that's a different conversation. Because if they beat an undefeated OU in the Big 12 championship, then it's a different resume. The problem is that OU, the loss against OU doesn't look that great anymore, because OU doesn't look that great. If you beat Georgia, if anybody beats Georgia, that is the best win on their resume. Georgia is the back-to-back national champions. They haven't lost in a million years. And if Alabama does that, I don't think the committee is going to give 2 shits they lost to Texas in September.
I will fight them.
I got the blood flowing.
Can you imagine, though? Here's the thing, though, too, Brandon and Jack and Katie. We're also talking about Texas, right? Like, I know everyone's like, oh, TV ratings.
And Alabama, 2 massive things.
Right. So it's not like we're talking, no offense. It's not like we're talking about, a TCU or some other team. Like, we're talking about Texas. Like, Texas drives TV ratings. Texas drives money. So it's not like it's a slam dunk saying, well, Alabama's the bigger brand, so you have to put them in for TV ratings. Texas would pull massive ratings in the playoff too. So there is that element as well. It's not some, schlep of a program when it comes to brand names. It's Texas.
Well, I think that's a fascinating hypothetical. I think any hypothetical, I do think Oregon's beating Washington. So I think the most likely hypothetical is maybe you come down to 1-loss Oregon against 1-loss Texas in that scenario. Actually, because that eliminates Washington, I would have to go back to I don't know. Now I'm cross-eyed.
I
think
fun.
They would be fine leaving out Oregon at that point.
Yeah, I think if it's down to Alabama, Texas, and Oregon, I think Oregon gets fucked.
Yeah,
which would still be amazing. It'd still be amazing, but whatever.
Yeah, I think unfortunately they would get fucked.
Yeah, because even though they would have beat Washington, who obviously is a top 5-6 team, Texas beat Alabama, and that to me is that is going to be the most fascinating thing, is what they do with Texas and Alabama.
I think we should let it play out. We'll see what happens.
I think we could do that too.
And I think ultimately, we all agree there's 3 major stories in college football right now. Number 3 is what happens with the Michigan stuff. Are we still going to get updates on that? I feel like part of me is missing with no Connor Stallions updates this week. Number 2 is how does the playoff shake out? With all this chaos, or is it going to be who they're going to be the 4 teams? And the number 1 story in college football right now is who will Mississippi State hire to be their next head coach and my potential best friend. So I think those are the 3 things that we're waiting on here, and I'm excited to see it play out.
Who is your number 1 best friend wish list right now?
I think I'm not really going to take a side on which coach I would like. It's not really something I'm going to do.
What are you doing right now with your
you're
lying. You're lying.
What do you mean I'm lying?
He's
You're
taking
giving
off
a
his
physical.
I'm scratching my head. Dude. I'm scratching my head.
I see. Never mind. He's not lying. He's stretching.
Scratch my head, dude.
Don't ruin the show.
I don't know who I'd want to be the head coach. There's a reason I brought up the age thing earlier, is all I'm saying.
You don't want Dan Mullen back?
I would take Dan Mullen back, but there are other guys I would like to try out. Just try out.
I'll tell you what's 100% something you should try out.
Please tell us.
BlueNile.com.
BlueNile.com.
Which is the original online jeweler. Since 1999, they've helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring. Blue Nile's build your own ring option and overnight shipping options will have you wondering why you ever thought that it was hard to find an engagement ring or whatnot. And also the thought, oh, how do I make it personalized? With Blue Nile, you can create a bigger, more brilliant piece than you can imagine at a price you won't find at a traditional jeweler.
So one of my friends used Blue Nile, and she was explaining it to me that it's so, because, a lot of times when you're picking out an engagement ring or any type of jewelry, not just engagement ring, you have to go to the jeweler, you have to look at it in the store, and then you have to take pictures and then go home. Blue Nile, you can actually create the jewelry on the app. So she would just sit at home while her boyfriend was doing whatever, and she would look at all the different options and then send them to him via the app. So she wouldn't have to drag him to the jewelry store. But it's not just for engagement rings either. It's for any type of jewelry. And it is the holiday season, Jack. It's the holiday season, and we know people love jewelry.
Yes, and at Blue Nile right now, you can go and get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more with the code MOM. We have one mom on this show. Casey, at least to our knowledge. Katie may be a mom too. I'm kidding. She's not a mom.
But I will use that code.
Yes.
She can use that code at BlueNile.com. That's $50 off with code MOM at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com. And I'm just going to put up the banner so you guys can see it as well. $50 off your first purchase of $500 or more with the code MOM at BlueNile.com. That's how you spell it. NILE.com. Can't wait to go over there. I'm not preparing to pop the big question right now, but if I was, I'd be heading to BlueNile.com.
Well, Jack, again, you could look at other jewelry, but I mean, it's a fun app to play on. You can design it, you can do all of those things, and again, nobody hates diamonds. It's a fact.
Andrew Fox says, isn't part of getting engaged showing the commitment of going to the store? No, you idiot. What a fucking loser question that was. What?
I can honestly say that on the list of showing commitment,
yeah,
I wouldn't put it on the top 50 to go to the jewelry.
I think as a dude, taking your fiance to be or wife to be to the store and having her pick it out, you think you're being all sweet and cute. I think that's lame as fuck. Pick it out yourself. Be a man. Show it to her. Yeah, God,
Don't get it wrong.
You get it wrong, you can fix it later, and it's not going to be wrong. It's not going to be wrong.
Hey, listen, not to go back to the ad, but that's why that's why apps like this exist, because then both people can be involved in it.
It's not going to be wrong.
If you propose and you pull out a dud, yikes. You can't redo that moment.
If you propose and she says no based on the ring,
she ain't the one for you.
I think we're still way too close to the ad for me to say what I really want to say here, but
she will say yes regardless. But her
and then if she regrets it later, or if she tells her friends, I don't like my ring.
That's a common occurrence.
If you love somebody and want to marry them, the ring should technically not matter.
She'll know. She'll in her head. She'll be like, "Ooh, no, don't fuck it up. Get it right the first time. Move on."
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to get out of here. So,
should we take some questions from the chat, or
I think Jack needs to get to work on the NFL game, and I have to go to Walmart.
We could do 10 minutes. You have to go to Walmart. I do have to go stream. It's Frank the Tank's birthday, so I have a little surprise for him. Let me tell you, I had to find a specific cake in the city today. And Casey, you'll know this place where I got it. This place, I got into a massive fight at Whole Foods with the bakery guy. Massive fight. I was screaming at him. He was screaming at me. Then a woman came up to me and said, maybe if you asked him nicer, he would actually honor your request. First of all, what? Second, I turned to her. It's like, you're not my mom. You're not my mom. You didn't talk to me like that.
Oh my
All that
God.
being said, I went to 4 bakeries, couldn't find it. Then I ended up at Fairway Market. Fairway Market, great spot. I'll just no free ads, but Brandon's sorry.
Brandon
People
wants to go
like
so
when they learn about us personally. It's the influencer era.
Sit down, Brandon.
Don't holler at me, Katie. Okay. Then.
Sorry, I should have talked about like a random high school football team in the middle of fucking Indiana.
It's Illinois, and we had a great season, Jack.
You didn't tell me it was 65-7.
It wasn't 65-7. It was 50-7. Okay.
Oh, okay.
50-7.
And you know what? I get it. Sometimes in high school, you go up, you play those teams that are just the Catholic schools.
Jack, it's not fair, Jack. We got a public school up here.
We talk about the cakes. We don't have to talk about
It takes kids from a 8-mile radius, 8 miles, and we take kids. We got some 5'11", 225-pound defensive linemen. Meanwhile, this fucking school that we played down here, they're a Catholic school. They're recruiting everybody. They're fucking quarterbacks from Wisconsin. So what do you want us to do?
No, it's fair. There was also a guy who crossed the line from Wisconsin to Illinois. It didn't go too well. Right? It was the opposite way.
All right. I was the opposite, and he was from very close to where I'm from. Okay.
So in the time we were going to take questions from the chat, we talked about Jack in an argument with a baker.
Yeah, we had to talk Rittenhouse for a second. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. So here we are.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Comment, like, subscribe. We love you all.
Like the
Some of you
video,
guys are
please.
actually assholes, so I don't love you. But also,
Like the
Michigan
video.
fans, you guys are so soft. Oh, my God. The replies to that tweet were, I know you got to go to Walmart, but oh, my God. The replies to the tweet that your quarterback only threw the ball 7 times. You guys are so soft. I can't believe I defended you for the whole.
Hold on, Jack. Hold on.
Wait.
Jack, these motherfuckers are so soft. Did we say it was coaching malpractice? No. Did we say it was a bad game plan? No. What we said was, if you look at that and the fact that they have a very good quarterback and he only threw 8 times in the game and never threw after the second quarter, that's weird, isn't it? No, that's not weird. That's not weird. We knew we could run it down their throat. That was the game plan the whole time. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. You're lying. You're lying to me. You're lying to yourself. Michigan won that game. They had 287 yards. They ran it 44 times for 226. Like, they didn't really run it down their throat. If they could have had a 3-touchdown lead, they would have done that in a heartbeat. Something was weird about J.J. McCarthy not throwing the ball in the second half, and nobody admits it. All right, I got to go Walmart.
YKB boys.
Yeah, well,
Like the
I need
video.
to ban. Hey, Elon, if you're watching, you're probably not. 100% chance. Ban the phrase "no ball" from Twitter. It's over. YKB boys are announcing we are not using that anymore. The only people that can use never mind. But the only people that can use it is us. If you say these guys don't know ball, I hate you.
And if you say, oh, you're just doing this for clicks and engagement, shut the fuck up. You should be lucky that we're talking about you punk ass bitches.
Yeah, punk.